All right, this is our Chapter 4 quiz review. Number 1, you're asked to graph to find the system's solution. So the first one I'm going to do in red. We can see that our y-intercept is 5, right? So there's a 5. And we can see our slope is 1, right? So we know that the slope is rise over run. And normally we would go up and right, correct? But the problem here, obviously, my graph is a little small. If you'd rather do yours on another piece of graph paper, that's obviously perfectly fine. But I'm going to go ahead and do it here because I also remember that if I go down and left, that's the same thing, right? A negative over a negative. So that's still going to give me a positive slope of 1. So there's my line for the first one. And I want to be as precise as possible, so make sure and use a straight edge on those. The second one, the y-intercept is negative 1, right? And my slope this time is negative 5. Let me go back. I'm actually going to put the negative on the bottom. That way I go up and then left for the same reason as what happened on the last line. I can't go down 5 without going off the graph. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then left 1, which actually turns out quite advantageous for me because that is where it intersects my other line. Ooh, my graph is not great. But again, I can see that they intersect here. They share that point. So the solution to this equation, the system of equation, is the point negative 1 and 4. Remember, you can always check your answers on these. We talked about that in class. All right, number 2 and 3. Remember, there were a couple of special ones. Number 2, it says, what is the solution of the system of equations? Well, it's looking like there's only one line, and we know we have to have 2. This is the one where it's one line on top of the other. Like if we graphed that, we looked at the graph of it and at the equations. This one would be infinitely many solutions. Infinitely, there we go. Many. And if you remember, the reason why would be is like if I graphed a line and then I had another equation that's just so happened to be that exact same line on top of it, then those two lines are intersecting everywhere, and there are infinitely many solutions because they intersect at all of the points on the line. Number 3, it says explain why the solution of the system of two parallel lines is no solution. So kind of conversely as number 2, we know that 2 parallel lines obviously are never going to touch each other, and therefore no intersection means that there wouldn't be an answer or no solution. All right, numbers 4 and 5, you're asked to do those using substitution. I'm going to come down here and do these on, let me add a piece of paper. There we go. I'm going to do these on my paper so that we can see the work neatly. So number 4 is substitution. Y equals x plus 6 and y equals 2x. So remember, substitution, that just means if y equals this, I can substitute it into the other equation in that place. So that means instead of y equals 2x, I have x plus 6 equals 2x, and I can solve that equation. I do want my x's to be together, so to make this a little shorter, I'll move that x to the right, so I get 6 equals 1x, so x is 6. Okay, I'm going to use the second equation because that one is the shortest, in my opinion. So y equals 2x, or y equals 2 times 6, or y equals 12. So that was a nice short one, which just means the solution to this one is the point 6 and 12. Again, you can check your answers on all of these. Please do so. Number 5 is also substitution. This one looks a little bit more involved, and it is. Let's see, y equals negative 3x plus 11. Okay, so this time, y equals this value, right, this expression. So that means I'm going to put it in, substitute it in for the value of y in that top equation. So I'm going to get 3x plus 2 times negative 3x plus 11. And that equals 7. From there, I'm just going to solve this equation, right? So I'm going to use the distributive property. I get 3x plus or minus 6 right, 2, that's going to be a minus 6x plus 22, and that equals 7. These two are like terms, so I'm going to go ahead and combine them. 3 minus 6 is negative 3x, plus 22 is 7. And then, of course, I would want to subtract 22 from both sides. To a point, it's just solving an equation. You guys know how to do that. I get negative 3x equals negative 15. Dividing by negative 3, get x is 5. And I do need to go and substitute that back in to find the value of y. I'm going to use the second equation just because it is going to be the most, the one that's going to be the easiest. Obviously, we now know the value of x is 5. So that equals negative 15 plus 11, or y equals negative 4. So that means the solution to this equation is 5 and negative 4.